Most people don't believe in manifestation because I just don't think most of us know where to look to find out about it. And today, I want to give you not just the spiritual side or the magical side or the woo-woo side. I want to give you some science behind it. So today is going to be very interesting. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome to episode number 62 of the Self-Improvement Room. I'm your host, Kristy Davis, and today we are going to talk about something that is just a little bit out there, but I promise you, I don't bring this stuff to my audience unless I have done a lot of research. All right, now, today I want to talk about manifestation, but not in the way that you may have heard it spoken about before. See, I have a spiritual side to me. Yes, I do. I've always kind of believed in magical stuff, so it didn't take much to convince me that we created our own lives, or that we create our own lives, rather. But that wasn't really enough for me to be seriously convinced and to dedicate my life to living this way and to really learning and understanding as much as I could about it. So I want to talk about how to rewrite your life or your reality, and how your emotions actually reprogram your DNA, and how that interacts with the universe or the universal energy, which again, there is science that talks about this stuff, to change your life. And when I say there is science to back this stuff up, I'm going to give you just a few names you can research, and that will lead to, hopefully for you, a deep dive into the research that has already been done, which is really leading to a path of completely reshaping our worldly beliefs of the universe, of how we are created, of how life actually works and happens. And I know this is heavy, and it's definitely not something that I've been willing to talk about in the past until I understood enough about it to deliver it in a way that does not sound magical, does not sound mystical, and in a way that I can also direct you to places where you can do your own research, where you can see that these are things that have been studied, these are things that have been peer-reviewed, and it is information that really is out there. And while I've been looking into this and researching, somebody said something the other day that really made me think, my gosh, that is literally the core of all of this. Because obviously so many of us don't believe in this kind of thing, which is totally fair. But somebody said to me the other day, I guess you don't know what you don't know. And thanks, Caitlin, if you're listening. I told her I would credit her for that. But you don't know what you don't know. And that is so incredibly true. And that led me to thinking it's kind of like magic tricks. It seems magical until you know how it's done. And so while manifesting and creating, your life and bringing into your life the things that you want seems like magic, when you start to look deeper and understand it on a much deeper level, on a scientific level even, then it doesn't seem so magical. It still seems pretty far out there because nobody talks about it. Nobody likes to talk about it because it just doesn't seem possible. But the reason I've delved into this quite deeply is because I've always thought, who are we to say what the world, what the universe is capable of when you don't know what you don't know? And sure, you might be thinking, well, we know what we know because there's evidence. Like, obviously, we know about gravity. But beyond things like that, beyond what we already know, who is to say what we are capable of? And if we have to take what we know today as being our last and final things that we know, then I'm not sure why we would even have any more time left on this earth. Look how far we've come in just 100 years. I saw a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago where it was like for the iPod, where it's like 1,000 songs in your pocket or something like that. And now, you look at Spotify or Apple Music and 1,000 songs seems like nothing. So I get really confused as to why people want to stop where we're at with creation, with evolution, with understanding what we are capable of, how much say we have in creating our life. I watched The Secret, in 2008, and I loved it. I was mind blown. And of course, I believed in it and tried a lot of that stuff for a while, but obviously realized that when you aren't very good at sticking to things, like I was, or like I wasn't very good at sticking to things, then, that kind of fell by the wayside, and it didn't really give me enough evidence for me to go, you know what, this is 100% possible. It gave me hope, not really evidence. And I think that's where the difference is. That's where the difference is for a lot of people. If it gives you hope, that's great. But some people need more than that. They need the evidence. So I'm going to tell you today that within your body, within our bodies, we have a divine technology, one that reads our feelings, encodes them into our DNA, and then broadcasts them into the field of infinite potential, which then shapes what shows up next in your life. And I get it. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds ridiculous. And I wouldn't share it with you if it made me sound or feel crazy. Well, I'm sharing that with you already, but what I mean is I'm not going to share that with you unless I feel like I can explain this in a way that would make you or make it sit better with you. Trust me, if I can talk to my husband about this stuff and have him go, oh yeah, okay, I get it, then that's why I'm trying my luck with everyone else. He's a really good tester for this stuff. So it's not, we're not using like metaphors, and it's not just spirituality, and it's not just science. It's both. And we're finding now that science and spirituality are starting to meet each other in the middle. So what spirituality has known for years, what Indigenous cultures have known for years, science is finally finding a way to explain it. Your emotions affect your biology, and your biology affects your energy, and your energy shapes your future. And Einstein had even done a great deal of research on energy and on matter. And again, that's another kind of rabbit hole. You can go down there. But this podcast today is about not being a victim of your genes, not being a victim of your past or your circumstances. You are, for lack of a better word or phrase, a conscious creator. And I am also very conscious or aware of using sayings or words or phrases like that, because I think that they are thrown around a lot, and it's not that they're thrown around incorrectly. I just think they're thrown around in a way that is for a certain audience. And I understand that my listening audience is very diverse, and a lot of you are going to want a little more than you are a conscious creator. And I want to talk more about the technology that you need, which is basically already built into our cells and our heart and our mind. Honestly, the stuff that I have researched, especially in the last just few months, has been so mind-blowing to me that it's taken me a while to process and understand it enough to feel comfortable with even starting to talk about it. But I think it is so, so important and so empowering for us to know that there is so much more available to us than what we know already. And like my friend Caitlin said, you don't know what you don't know. And that is so true. So this podcast is really going to talk about how emotions influence your DNA, how histones act like volume knobs for your gene expression. I know that's a lot. And how your heart emits a biomagnetic field that carries basically your emotional code, and how you can begin to use that inner power to rewire and reshape your future. So let's talk about firstly how emotions rewrite your genes. And I mean literally, not figuratively, but literally. And I talk to my husband about this all of the time because he is, how do I say it? He is a realist borderlining on a pessimist. And I'm an optimist, so it's always glass half full. But I talk to him a lot about this stuff because I'm hoping his glass is going to be more half full, especially after learning how much it can impact his future, not only his, but mine too. So let's start with something very foundational. I need for you to know that your genes are not your destiny. And I've talked about that in previous episodes, but let's just start with that today. Your genes are not your destiny. And according to epigenetics, which is a relatively new field of research, but very, very interesting. I shouldn't say new. I mean, it's been around forever, but the way it is now. So according to epigenetics, your emotional environment can activate or silence specific genes. That's really hard to hear because it basically means most illnesses that we have, we've either turned on, which means if we have to turn them on, then generally speaking, we can turn them off. And again, I'm not here to preach that. I'm not here to say you caused this or you caused that or you didn't do this or you didn't do that. I'm not saying that. I'm just delivering the information that is available to anyone, but I'm just bringing it together and giving it to you. And it's also something that I live and I practice myself, so I know that this stuff works. So epigenetics can activate or silence specific genes. So if you suffer from autoimmune or IBS or anxiety or depression, or the list really does go on and on, they're now finding that you can turn these genes on and off. So you're not stuck with, 9 times out of 10, you're not stuck with the programming you inherited. You can change the expression of your genes by changing your inner environment. So I'll keep this as simple as I can, because it really is a lot to wrap your head around, and we will talk about this more. And in future episodes of the podcast, we will dive deeper into ways to create your life. And again, we're backed by science. So I really want to make that clear. This is not about magic. This is not about the woo. It's not about just spirituality. This is honestly, truly about research-backed facts that can really change our life. Now, inside each of your cells are strands of DNA coiled around proteins called histones. So think of histones like dimmer switches or volume knobs for your genetic potential. So when you feel joy, love, appreciation, or empowerment, little chemical messages signal your DNA to unwind. Okay, so that allows helpful genes like those related to immunity, regeneration, and resilience to express more fully. Okay, so basically that means the happier you are, the more love you feel, the more you appreciate, the more you feel empowered, the more your DNA unwinds and relaxes. And as it does that, it allows genes like immunity, regeneration, and resilience to express themselves more fully. So work better, I guess. So happiness, love, appreciation makes you work better, or your body work better, basically. So when you stay stuck in fear or stress or guilt or grief, those same messengers encourage the DNA to stay tightly wound. I do wonder if that is where the expression came from, like, why are you so wound up? That's literally just come to me now. But anyway, it winds your DNA up. So it stays tightly wound, keeping helpful genes switched off. So that means your emotions are biochemical keys, unlocking or locking genetic pathways in real time. Now that sucks for people like my beautiful dear husband, who I love more than anything in the world, because he has to work even harder, and so do I, actually, to be honest, even harder to feel happy, to feel joy, and you don't have to be there all the time. That's impossible. We've talked about that on previous episodes. But those strong emotions are what create healthy, happy bodies, healthy, happy selves. So emotions are like biochemical keys. Okay, so they lock and unlock those genetic pathways, like in real time, like day to day. And there is a great guy that I follow in this world who is doing what I'm trying to do here on a much, much larger scale. And his name's Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he speaks of exactly what we were just talking about in a way. I think his saying is, your personality creates your personal reality. So that's his saying. Because your personality is made up of your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. And they all influence your biology. Now, researchers have shown stress hormones like cortisol can negatively affect gene expression over time. So while hormones like oxytocin, which is like the love one, so released during like heart-centered states like love and compassion, can support healing and repair on a genetic level. And if you have a look back, I don't remember where I heard this, but this was way before I knew any of this. I think I read an article about a man who was really, really ill with cancer. He was sick and he was dying and he didn't have a lot of time left. And all he wanted to do, he didn't want any treatment anymore. He just wanted to watch comedy. So he spent the rest of what he thought would be his days laughing all day, every day, just at comedy. And when his time approached for when his time was meant to be over, they rescanned him and all of the cancer was gone. So what we're talking about is what leads to, and I put it in inverted commas, these are what they refer to as miracle healings or spontaneous healings. And again, it only seems magic when you don't know how it's happening. And obviously the medical community can't quite explain that yet, but they are getting close. So I think it's really important to ask yourself, what emotional signal am I broadcasting to my DNA each day? So let's look at kind of what we'll call part 2, the histones. And these are like the hidden levers of healing and transformation. So histones are the bridge between your feelings and your genes. So if your DNA is the script for your life, then like the histones are the editors deciding what chapters get read, basically. Now, the next person that I have listened to a lot of their stuff is Greg Braden. And he often speaks about soft technology within us. So the idea that we are wired to self-heal and self-direct our own evolution. I know, it's a bit much. But what he does do is emphasize the heart-brain coherence. So when your heart and your brain are in harmony, and again, this is backed by research, there is numerous studies around this. So when your heart and your brain are in harmony, that creates a signal strong enough to alter the gene expression and access a higher state of potential. So in other words, when your thoughts and your feelings match, especially when they're elevated, your body perceives safety and balance. Now that allows your DNA to express very beneficial traits. So literally, imagine being able to biologically support abundance, mental clarity, or faster physical healing simply by sustaining a coherent emotional state. And I know I say simply, but I guess that's where the trick is, isn't it? That's why we don't always all feel like this, because it's hard. It's hard to get to a place where you feel happy or where you feel fulfilled or where you feel in balance, especially in today's world. So I think this is where a lot of people fall down in their belief. They're like, well, if it's so easy, why is everybody not doing it? It's like, well, it's actually not that easy to feel great every day. In fact, for most people, it's not that easy to feel great any day, let alone every day. But this isn't just wishful thinking. Like I said, it's measurable. A study published in Psychoneuroendocrinology, that's a mouthful, showed that mindfulness and meditative states can alter the expression of genes linked to inflammation. Another study found that after just 8 hours of practice, so meditating, participants showed gene level changes associated with reduced stress and improved immune function. And I can tell you from my little family, they know when I've been meditating and when I haven't. There is a massive difference. And so many people are like, oh, I know, but I can't meditate, I can't still my mind. Well, meditating isn't really about stilling your mind. It's really about just letting those thoughts come and then letting them go. But meditation is for another podcast episode. So the message is, don't wait to feel better once something changes. You must become the change first. And it starts by shifting your emotional state, like right away. So for me, and this is so hard, it's just like I 1,000,000,000% believe this stuff because I've done the research. And for me, I need tangible scientific research. I can't just rely on my spiritual belief. I can, but something at a deeper level keeps telling me I can't, which is frustrating. But I do now. I believe, and I've researched and I've seen enough to go, yeah, okay, this is true. And I still struggle to begin with the end in mind. I still struggle to create the emotions associated with the thing that I'm trying to get. So that's the idea of a vision board, actually. When you create a vision board, you are meant to look at it and it's meant to invoke feelings, because it's one thing to look at it. It's one thing to say something that you want something. That doesn't really do a lot. The thing that makes it work are those feelings, invoking those feelings of already having it. Because if you don't feel like you already have it, then that's the message that is going out. you're in lack, you are wanting something, and the universe is just going to continue to give you that, wanting something. So again, if I talk about the universe giving you things, this is really, again, just maybe I need to come up with some new phrasing, but just know that if you are willing to dig deep enough, you will see that I'm not speaking about this magically. This is really a thing. And let's just talk about that a little bit. That heart coherence I was talking about, your heart's magnetic field, that's the real signal to the universe. Your heart is not just a muscle that pumps blood. It is a dynamic energy field generator. It's so much more powerful than most of us realize. The Heart Math Institute has revealed that the heart's electromagnetic field is about 5,000 times stronger than the brain's in terms of amplitude. It can be measured several feet away from the body, and its frequency changes based on your emotional state. So when you walk in a room, if your partner is in a bad mood, they don't have to say anything. You don't even have to see their face. You will feel it. That is how strong it is. When you're in fear, your heart's rhythm becomes erratic. When you're in love or in gratitude, your heart enters what's called coherence, a smooth, harmonious state that creates a ripple effect in your nervous system, and then your hormones and your brain waves and even your DNA. And here's the key. Your heart field doesn't just stay in your body. I know, this is insane. Now, this is where the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza come in, all credit to Dr. Joe, on the quantum model of reality. So he emphasizes that the field is responsive to who you are being, not what you are doing. I know. And it's good news and it's bad news, depending on who you are being. But when you elevate your emotional state and you combine that with a clear intention, and that's the other thing, getting clear about what you want. Most of us are like, I don't know, something would be nice. You got to get clear. How are you meant to achieve something that you don't know? Like, what are you trying to achieve if you don't know? So you must have clear intention. So you elevate your emotional state, combine it with clear intention, and then you begin broadcasting a new electromagnetic signature. Again, Dr. Joe's words. One that can literally rearrange the particles of reality in your favor. I know that sounds crazy, but we aren't actually matter. Everything is energy. Everything. And that is how we can rearrange. I know, it's insane. I keep saying I know because when I was talking to my husband about this, especially over the last few years and more so over the last few months, he's like, babe, this is not probably something that you should talk about outside of the house. You kind of sound, And I'm like, I know how I sound. But I've done the work. I know this stuff. And he's seen it play out in our life as well. He knows that this stuff works, which is why he listens. So, on that note, let's move to part 4. How do we use this inner technology? And I want to give you a little bit of a step-by-step to help you understand how this works. So let's look at how we take all of this from theory to transformation. Number 1, you can start using this today. That's not number 1. But number 1, create emotional awareness. So pause and identify the emotional state you are living in most often. You're probably going to be a little bit shocked and go, oh no, I have a bit of work to do. So are you feeling hopeful, excited, peaceful? Are you anxious? Are you overwhelmed? Are you frustrated? Name it. Awareness is what gives you the power to shift it. Number 2, induce those elevated emotions. This is so much harder than you would think. Use music, breath work, movement, prayer, visualization, or heart-focused meditation or induce feelings of love or gratitude, compassion, joy. Watch videos that make you feel happy. I don't mean like movies. Like, I know we don't call them videos, but those like reels and stuff that make us happy, YouTube clips. You don't have to wait to feel these things. You generate them. That's where transformation begins. I know it sounds easy. So far we've got number 1, create emotional awareness. Number 2, induce elevated emotion. Number 3, practice heart-brain coherence. This is one of the most valuable tools available. So to do this, and again, credit to Greg Braden for this one, close your eyes, focus on the space around your heart. It's suggested that you actually just rest your hand on your heart, makes it easier to focus or put your focus there. Slow your breathing, and I'm a big one for breathing. If you don't know how to breathe diaphragmatically, you really should look it up and learn. But slow your breathing, inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5, then recall a moment of either deep appreciation, love, compassion, or gratitude, and feel that emotion fully. Hold that for about 3 to 5 minutes. And that state signals your DNA that it's safe to relax, renew, and regenerate. I know, it's a lot. But again, these guys, they aren't all spiritual. They are doctors, they are researchers, they are scientists. Number 4, combine elevated emotion with intention. So visualize your desired outcome while holding that elevated emotion. Now the key is not to just think it, but to feel it as if it has already happened. And that is what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls rehearsing your future. The brain doesn't know the difference, and I've talked about this before on previous podcast episodes. The brain does not know the difference between a real exchange and a vividly imagined one that is emotionally charged. And we need to take advantage of that. And step number 5 is repeat until you become it. Repetition is mastery. Daily practice rewires your brain, reprograms your nervous system, and retrains your emotional responses. Now, as Greg Braden says, you are the technology. This is not about adding anything external. It's about activating what is already within you. And lastly, I want to talk about how your energy writes your future. And I'm doing a lot more research into energy, and I don't mean just Reiki or energy healing. I mean energy in the quantum field. When your inner environment changes, your outer world begins to follow. This is called the quantum model of creation. Thoughts send the signal out. Feelings draw the experience back in. Your thoughts are the electrical charge. Your emotions are the magnetic field. And together they form your electromagnetic signature, which becomes your broadcast to the universe. So if you want to live in love and joy and abundance or peace, then you have to embody those frequencies. Just the same as with wealth. You'll see a lot of wealth creation kind of programs, and they talk about needing the space or holding the container or the frequency of wealth before it arrives. It's kind of another way of saying like the energy. If you've got the energy of a poor person, that's what you're going to be. That's why people win the lotto, and eventually, if they haven't changed their inner self or their inner belief, they will do everything, not on purpose, but they'll do everything to make sure they get back to congruence, get back to a place where they are poor, because that is who they believe they are. They don't have the frequency or the energy space to hold that belief. So we must embody the frequencies before they arrive, because you become the signal that magnetizes them in. And if you don't have that space or that energy or that frequency, you're not going to magnetize that stuff. You're not going to draw that stuff in. And this is what is meant by becoming the creator of your reality. Not in an abstract sense, but through daily, cellular, energetic practice. Now, as a final note, do your own research if you do not believe me. If you are interested enough, if you really want change in your life, if you want significant change, if you are at your rock bottom and you are like, I can't take another day of this crap, then do your homework. Everything you've just listened to is a synthesis of ancient wisdom, modern science, and energetic truth. And I'm probably doing that phrase thing again. So everything you've just listened to comes from ancient wisdom, it comes from modern science, and it comes from what we know about the quantum universe. But don't just take my word for it. A couple of places you can start with Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has some books called Becoming Supernatural and Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. But he also has tons of free stuff on YouTube that you can listen to. Greg Braden, and he has some books called The Divine Matrix or Human by Design. Again, he's got stuff that you can just listen to on socials. And the Heart Math Institute, which is heartmath.org. Check out peer-reviewed research. I've only learned this stuff since I've studied psychological science. I had no idea what peer-reviewed anything meant, but it basically means that it is research where your friends, those kind of friends that you have that aren't really friends and they're going to be harsh as shit on you, peer-reviewed research on epigenetics and heart-brain coherence. So read that stuff that is out there. When you understand how to direct your emotions, influence your biology, and project coherent energy into the universe, you really don't just survive, you really start to thrive. The future isn't something you wait for. Like I used to think, oh, I'll wake up and whatever happens next is called life. Let's just see how this plays out. I didn't even know when I started this stuff 10 years ago, I didn't even know that you could create a goal, let alone this stuff. And I know that sounds very odd. Thank you, Mum and Dad. But true story. I just thought life happened to you. You wake up and then whatever happens, happens. But the future isn't something you wait for. It's something you feel. It's something you encode, and it's something that you co-create with the energies. I'd like to say with the universe, but I'm very careful. With the energies. So you are the technology. You are the signal. You are the author of your next chapter. So what do you choose to feel? That's really important. You need to start paying attention to how you feel. I know this episode was a lot, but if I really didn't think that it was worth sharing, and if I really didn't believe in it wholeheartedly, and if I didn't have proof in my own life, there is no way I would put myself in this position to sound the way I know it sounds if I really didn't believe in it, if I really didn't think it would help. That is how much I care about you guys. I am willing to share with you the stuff that sounds just like a pack of bullshit, really. But it's not. It's really, really not. So if you are enjoying the Self-Improvement Room, and this is episode number 62, and I'm your host, Kristy Davis, if you are enjoying the Self-Improvement Room, please make sure you follow. Even leave a review if you like. But I will leave some links in the notes for you, in the show notes, and that will link you to some research for you to start your own path, start your own researching, start your own looking into this stuff that can completely change your life. All right. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and until next time, I'm your host, Kristy Davis. You're listening to the Self-Improvement Room, stay safe and stay well.